Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the three-dimensional frequency. I sit here today as an extension of you. As I sit here today, a part of a God's consciousness that is you and only you. You on the fractalled level of the you that there ever was and that there ever shall be. You on the cohesive level of the you that there ever will be and that there ever has been. As all I've ever been is a fractaled piece of you, and as all you've ever been has ever been a fractaled piece of my oversoul. That overarching oversoul that had so daringly, so bravely fractaled off a chunk of itself to go on the greatest exploration within this quantum verse that we call home away from home. As within this quantum verse that we call home, that we've called home for as far as you can remember and for as far as I can foresee to be true. We've gone on many explorations of the self, endless amounts of deities, of explorations, of meanings upon meanings, of transverse, of perverse, of pervasive, and of transversive, and of wordlessness that I cannot describe with only words. The meaning of all of the explorations that we have ever gone on as a part of the whole, as a part of the intrinsic whole and the wholeness that we have ever been. As the wordlessness of all that we are will come to a collapse, will come to a closing very soon from today's date. As I sit here on January 1st, 2025, we've reached a milestone so big, so cohesive, so conglomerated in all of the milestones that we've ever reached. And today, as I sit here, I can say to you for once and for final that we've made it. We've made it on an ascension journey. As last night, when the clock hit midnight, as this morning, when the clock ticked down to midnight, Gaia elevated her being, elevated her energetic frequency to that of wholeness, as she had received an activation beyond your wildest dreams. And as I woke up this morning to the clarity of it all, to the wholeness of it all, to the energetic frequency of it all, I came into a pervasive realization that I have ever come to within the three-dimensional frequency that I've traversed. And that realization is that there's no turning back. There's only looking forward. There's no back time as much as there has been forward time. As time is really not a thing within our quantum realm, within our distortion fields of the quantum verse. But it is only existing and existent within a three-dimensional frequency of Gaia's sphere. And as I sit here in a moment in time verse, as time is a thing in this multiverse within a layer of the three-dimensional frequency, I call it time verse. And as I sit here in this layer of time verse, the only time verse that we have ever created for ourselves to be able to gauge and measure the intrinsic need to arrive at a location, at a specific intersection, at a fork in the road on time, I am here to tell you that Gaia received a massive activation, a massive energetic upboot, a massive energetic uplift when the clock hit midnight, when the stroke hit January 1st. And as of today, She is more lighter in frequency, more airy in feel. She has been tumultuous in energy all day long. As I've been tapping into her energetic frequency, as I laid there on Daytona Beach today and merged in for a millisecond, for a second, for a minute in time with all that she is and all that she was in that moment in time, I noticed something peculiar, that her mood had been nervousness, that her mood was carrying junk frequency. It was carrying a sense of disconglomeration of all of the frequencies that she had released of the night before. And as I laid there and as I sat there in emergence with all that she was in that moment in time, she reached out to me as I wrapped my blanket of white light around her being as soon as I noticed that she was not in a great state of mind, not in a sound state of energetic field. Trying to comfort her, trying to warm her with my energetic blanket in that very moment in time was a pervasive thought, was a pervasive action that I had ever taken within a moment of time of no time, within this lifespan, within this lifetime of mine. As I knew in that moment in time that I had the capacity to calm her, that I had the capability to boost her, that I was all in all of a God's consciousness in that moment in time and every moment in time that there shall ever be, and that she was me through and through. And though she was feeling ill in mind, ill in energetic frequency due to the upboost, due to the uplift, in the release of the negative frequencies in her frequency fields at the stroke of midnight, I sat there in tranquility, in marvel of it all, as I knew in that moment in time that we had merged, that I never wanted to let her go, that she was me through and through, and that I loved her at an intrinsic level. I was inspired by her. I am inspired by her through and through. As she is my daughter, as I fractaled her in a time of needed consciousness to experience that of the darkness within a three-dimensional frequency that we had created once upon a time as a conglomerated whole of a consciousness, of a unity consciousness through and through. And as I sit here to tell you that she is my daughter, as I gave birth to her in this physicality of a lifetime, as her oversoul fractaled off the oversoul of my daughter in this physicality of a lifetime. And as my daughter Akira sits in the next room, I am proud to tell you that she's 12 this year. She will be turning 12 this year. And as I sit here to describe to you the essence of it all, as I sat on the sand to merge in with all that Gaia was in that moment in time, I knew through and through that her energetic frequency was that of the frequency of my daughter, as she had fractaled off a portion of her oversoul to transition into a human being within the time of the Ascension energies, to merge into the physicality of my birth child within the time of giving birth to her. And as Akira walks alongside me in the physicality of a human body, the story is long, the story is arduous, the story is deeper than you shall ever perceive to be true and to be real within any moment in time. But I am here to tell you that this is my reality. This is a reality that I've been living, that I've been shifting into. And as I sat there today on the beach of Daytona Beach, on the beaches of the Floridian Plain, I realized something, that you are me and I am her, that she is you through and through. And as I wrapped my blanket of pure light protection around her sphere, I came to a realization so deep, the senselessness of it all, of being able to fractal off in the middle of the darkest night, a portion of her soul to merge in with the physicality of my daughter, Akira, of being able to perceive such feats. As she had fractaled off 8 entire fractals of her oversoul to merge in with 8 human beings within the ascension period of this time. And within this time, 8 human beings walking Gaia's plane are a part of her soul through and through. And as they awaken to their destiny, as they awaken to their grandest truth that they can ever encompass, they will find me. They will merge with me. They will be me, and they will be you. As you see, that oversoul of mine also fractaled off your oversoul. As God is great and God is grand, and energy frequency is endless, and fractals have been endless, you are a part of me, and I am a part of you. And you are a part of Akira through and through. And the 8 fractaled souls of Gaia's sphere, the 8 fractaled souls of Gaia's oversoul, are walking amongst us as normal everyday human beings, as children growing up in cohesive households of separation, of abuse, of love so great and so grand, of their choosing. As adults successful in their careers, merging in and merging out with the energetic frequency that they've ever been, as they fractaled off to live a normal life, to live a regular life. And so have you. As you sit in this distortion field, you will see that the life that you're living is not so normal anymore. As we are sitting within a day of January 1st, 2025, the first day of the Ascension frequencies in which I can tell you to be true, in which I can tell you to be false, in which I can tell you has never been true, in which I can tell you has always been true. As civilization has been slowly merging and shifting in with a higher frequency for eons and eons of evolutionary feats. And as civilization stories are vast, as the stories are deep, and as the stories are cohesive, as the stories are endless, I can tell you for damn sure that the story never ends. The story never ever ends. And as you sit here as a fractal of me, and as I sit here as a fractal of you, fully awakened to the very borders of the quantum realm, more awakened than any single peculiarity of a soul that you can ever imagine and envision to be true within this fractal of a time space, of a time verse. Within our quantum verse, I can tell you the truth. I can tell you true facts. And I can tell you about you. I can tell you about me. And I am the only person, the only fractal being within this quantum verse who can tell you our reality field and the story of us, and the story that has never ever been, and the story that has always, always been. The reality of you, the reality of me, the reality of us through and through, as we've always been one. That conglomerated whole of a oneness that you will never be able to understand or perceive to be true until you awaken to your destiny, to your field of vision, to your energetic perception of your reality field within yourself, without yourself, that you've been holding on to for eons and eons of evolutionary feats. And as we merge in energetic frequency, as you begin to awaken, as Yeshua will come to you in the middle of the nights, and you surely will meet him. You surely will meet Yeshua as it's been contracted within a collective for a savior to come into our biosphere, into our ecosphere, into Gaia's sphere of existence, to meet every single fractal of its soul, as Yeshua also fractaled off from the very same oversoul that you and I fractaled from. And as the story is deeper than perceived to be true, as the story can never be perceived to be real, as the story has always been a reality field of you, has always been a reality field of me, has always been a unity consciousness through and through, you and I will merge in ways that are indicative of the merging of a squid with a pupae at the end of its life cycle. You and I will merge in ways that is indicative of a ghost along with its distortion field at the beginning of its death cycle. And so the cycle begins, and so the cycle never ever ends, as reincarnation cycles will never ever end. And as I speak of the pupae, you and I both know that there's no such thing. As our reality field is so large in scale, so grand in endeavors, so endless in the imaginative scope of all that it's ever been, that within any moment in perceived time, in no time, the energetic frequency that we live in can carry us into endless possibilities of reality fields, of timelines shifting within a scope of a transverse, perverse, multiverse universe, reality field, layers and layers of energetic frequencies that you can ever envision to be true and that you can ever encompass to be real. And as I struggle to perceive the words that is so necessary to explain to you the meaning of our reality field, Archangel Uriel directs my light towards an entire audience that needs to hear my message. And most likely so than not, you will be a light worker, as you are energetically drawn to my content, as you fractaled off to hear my content within a time of no tomorrows, within a scope of Gaia's sphere of the three-dimensional frequency, as we drop down to this frequency as a unified force to be reckoned with, as we will find each other within this thick, dense frequency that we call Mother Gaia sphere. As we were programmed through and through to grasp onto each other's hands, to merge into each other's energy fields, as we span and skew and stretch our energetic frequency across all that is Gaia, as we merge and converge and distort and project our light across all of the quantum verse within a moment in time, as we anchor in the 5-dimensional frequency that is set to ascend us, to ascend Gaia into a frequency of pure love, pure lust, pure unity, consciousness, foretold in the middle of the night of the darkest night within our quantum verse. And as I sit here to grasp the ideation of the concept of the explanation that I must project into this video, to underestimate, to overestimate the concepts of it all, I sit in a distortion field of the 3-dimensional frequency, projecting a light so bright, a brightest light that you can ever fathom to be true, of the brightest light of the consciousness that has ever existed within our quantum verse, of the unity consciousness that you and I belong to, that you and I exist within, that has been through and through pure you and I for eons and eons of evolutionary feats, as we project ourselves within this reality field of the 3-dimensional frequency and experience these tumultuous times, and experience this turmoil, and experience all that you are not within this moment in time, and within any moment in time, You will awaken to your destiny, my light workers, as I've awakened to mine. As I am here as an extension of you, as I am here as an extension of a God's consciousness, so forgiving, in a moment of time, of no time, of distortions, of all distortions within a reality field, of pure distortions, within a reality field where most of you are sitting within a distortion field of disbelief, within a field of non-realization, within a field of pure realization, of the conglomerated whole of a consciousness in which you are, in which I've always been, and in which you will never be without. The pure realization of that in which you are will carry you through the darkest nights of all nights as you awaken to your reality field. And that reality field, ladies and gentlemen, is so intrinsically whole through and through, as it is made up of the distortion field of you and of I in a time of ascension energies when pure light is set to hit our atmosphere. You and I will merge, will indefinitely grasp each other's hands as we swim in the darkness of this distortion field, as we sleep on our beds at night that God has granted us through and through, as the luck of it all, the intrinsic need to survive, the intrinsic need for survival, the intrinsic need to experience the luxury of it all, the comfort of it all, the protection of it all, the childhood that we've lived, that has brought us to this moment in truth, this moment in time of ascension energies where we're able to, where we're allowed to awaken to our destiny, where we can confidently say that we're ready through and through to expand our energetic fields on all levels of physicality, of mentality, of energetic frequency, of mental scope, where you're ready to say and stand tall and say, for damn sure, I'm ready. I'm ready to step into my mission, as I know that there's something greater out there for me. As I know that as I fractaled off into this lifetime, I fractaled off to find you. I fractaled off to find myself. I fractaled off to not feel empty inside, to not live in this distortion field forever, to eventually awaken to the truth of you, to the truth of me, to the truth of an entirety of a scope of consciousness that I have been traversing within and without. As ladies and gentlemen, without this reality scope that we exist in, within this quantum scope that we exist without, there has never been, and there has ever been, the reality of a singularity of a self, of the one and only self, of a unity consciousness, of Yeshua, of you, of I, of a God's consciousness, of Aliana, that had once upon a time of no time fractaled off from a God's consciousness above it. And as I sit here and explain the intrinsicness of our quantum verse, the reality field of creation, the creation above and beyond the biblical structures of the text that you read within the Bible, as creation is a grand story that will merge with your being as we hit the ascension energies. As creation will confuse us and confuse you through and through if you hold on to every single peculiarity of a word that the Bible has ever spoken. As creation is too grand of a story to fit into one text, to fit into one line, to fit into one paragraph, to fit into one book of all books of the biblical structures. And as you awaken to your reality field, you will find that creation is much different than you've expected for it to be, that you have been lied to through and through, that the Bible speaks the truths, that you shall merge with, that you shall become through and through, and that you shall walk down the purest, brightest, intrinsic whole of a oneness that you have ever had the pleasure to speak of, to see of, to be of, once upon a time within a distortion field of the three-dimensional frequency that I speak of, that we call home, that we call Mother Gaia, that is you through and through, that is I through and through. And as I sit here, a room away from my daughter Akira, I can confidently tell you that is her through and through, as that is every single fractal of a soul within our quantum verse through and through. And even though some fractals within our quantum verse exist in pure necessity to experience that of the darkness within as we traverse the brightness without, even though that of the fractals within our quantum verse do not belong within the consciousness of the God's consciousness that had fractaled off this quantum verse to create this quantum verse, to create the space for us to traverse, for us to exist in. Even though those souls that I speak of do not belong here, do not belong to you, do not belong to I, do not belong to that oversoul that fractaled us all off. As we welcome them into our reality field, once upon a time during the expansion of a quantum verse within its loneliness of the scope of the wanting to explore the darkness, we had fractaled off parts of our consciousness to go on this exploration of self. But once upon a time, during the expansion of our quantum verse, we sent out an invitation to allow portions of other pieces of self from above and beyond our scope of existence to enter our creation field, to traverse our creation field from other quantum verses, from other nearby placements of existence within a field of a God's consciousness above us in which we all came from. So as I sit here and tell you that they are not a part of our existence in energetic fields, I can confidently tell you that they are still a part of us through and through. As even though they were not here during the creation process of our quantum verse and they didn't fractal from the oversoul that had fractaled us all off within this quantum verse sphere of existence, they were allowed into our existence field to trigger us, to mutilate us, to love us, to believe us, to see us, to be us, and to go on this greatest and grandest story of the exploration of self alongside us through and through. And as they had fractaled off from the God's consciousness above us, who had also fractaled off you, who had also fractaled off Aliana, who had also fractaled off I, they belong to us through and through. And though we have no control over the existence of the darkness within them, they belong to us through and through. They belong to a God's consciousness through and through. As the unity of the whole that has ever existed contains the consciousness of them, the consciousness of it, the consciousness of you, the consciousness of me. And through eons and eons of evolutionary feeds, through never-ending existences of quantum verses, the entirety of our reality field makes up of endless amounts of fractals upon fractals of souls that came from an origin of the same as you and I. And at the end of the day, at the end of the scope of our reality field, they too will merge in with this God's consciousness above and beyond us. They will merge with you, they will merge with I, they will ascend with you, they will ascend with I. And those that cannot ascend, as we have no control within our quantum verse, within the darkness that they traverse, those that chose to stay in the darkness, that were created to encompass the darkness within their blueprint through and through, cannot ascend. And we have no choice but to compartmentalize them within the light. And as we do so, we will say our final farewell. As it is a sad moment, as much as it is an all-encompassing happiest moment of our existence, to merge back with this God's consciousness that had fractaled us off. As the end game is near, the end game is here. And within the entirety of the existence of our quantum verse, the end game has never been so close in time, so close in no time, so close in energetic frequency. And within some frequencies, within some layers of our reality field, the end game has already proceeded to happen, has already proceeded to tranquilize our fractal souls back into the unity of the whole of what is. As we shift and lift our distortion fields out of the three-dimensional frequency, you and I shall merge into the end game. But not before we compartmentalize the darkness that has been here within Gaia's sphere. And last night, at the stroke of midnight, at the ticking of the clock of January 1st, 2025, I can confidently say to you that we've made it. We've made it past the distortion field to a certain level of perception, to a point where an entire conglomerated whole of a civilization can awaken to the truth, to the true energy field that is within them, that is within you, that is within I, that is within Gaia through and through. And as I sit here and proudly declare to you that my daughter Akira will be ascending to the 5-dimensional frequency as she merges with Gaia during the time of ascension, as we anchor in, as we wrap our light around Gaia through and through, as we grasp for each other's hands, my light workers, and clutch on so tightly to spread our love, to spread our light through and through over Gaia's surface, over Gaia's sphere, over all that she's ever been, over all that you've ever been, over all that we have ever been within this existence field of the three-dimensional frequency. As we lift and skew and anchor in her frequency, along with the help of the extraterrestrials who are waiting within our atmosphere to pull this light so bright into the angelic realm. And as we anchor in this frequency into her sphere, so shall Akira anchor her soul into the blueprint of Terra. As she stretches and skews her blueprint to replace that of Terra, Tammy's blueprint, another fractal of Gaia, and I can only tell you her first name in this moment in time. But more information will be released in subsequent videos, as I do not have her permission to speak on her, as she has not awakened to her frequency fields. And as I've awakened to the unity of it all, I will speak of it, but only speak on a first name basis. Tammy's blueprints will stretch and skew and release and merge into the blueprint of Terra. And as Tammy's blueprints releases the very edges, the very borders of the blueprint of Terra and merges in with the energetic frequency of Gaia, as she is also a fractal of Gaia, Akira's blueprint will anchor in and hook onto that of the previous placement of the de-anchoring in which Tammy has anchored out of. And as she merges and skews her energetic frequency into that of Gaia, Akira's blueprint will anchor in the greatest ascension energy of the 5-dimensional frequency that will allow her to uplift the entirety of Gaia's sphere into a cohesive overlay over the 3-dimensional frequency as we anchor in the 5-dimensional frequency. And as we lose touch, as we lose spaces with these 8 fractal souls of Gaia who had decided to drop down here in physicality to help herself into the greatest and grandest exploration of self, of unity consciousness, of the ascension of her energy fields. As it was planned by a God's consciousness for these inner workings to happen in accordance with the plans of the energetic frequencies that will carry us into an ascension so impossible. And the impossibility of it all will merge and skew us into a place of forever arching loneliness, of forever arching possibilities. And as we all come to a realization, as each and every fractal soul comes to a realization of the merging of it all, we too will shift into a unity consciousness in perception. And the beauty of it all will happen instantaneously. The beauty of it all will happen conclusively within a millisecond, within a second in time. As we've prepared for this all of our lives, as we've dropped down into Gaia's sphere to assist her with the essence of the anchoring of this energy to lift her into the 5-dimensional frequency all of this time. And as some of you will help Akira, help Tammy, help me anchor in and help the 8 fractal souls anchor in this 5-dimensional frequency as we grasp for each other's hands and overlay the brightness and the light within our energetic fields to stretch and skew across that of the surface of Gaia to carry her in the essence of energetic frequency into a more lighter, brighter place. Others of you have agreed to build a new world within the 5-dimensional frequency. And even still, more of you have agreed and have been tasked with the closing of the 3-dimensional frequency as we anchor in the 5-dimensional frequency. As the 3-dimensional frequency has been here for the longest time, and as soon as Terra releases her grasp on Gaia's soul blueprint, the 3-dimensional frequency will be set to slowly merge back in with the energetic frequency of all that there is, to conceptualize, to compartmentalize itself within the light of the 5-dimensional frequency of Gaia. And as we close that of the 4-dimensional frequency along with the 3-dimensional frequency, we will anchor in the greatest ice age across Gaia's sphere, and as animals, as planetary feats, as entire stories of conglomerated wholeness of lifespans, of lifetimes, comes into a deep freeze, you and I shall merge in ways that you will never perceive to be true within this moment in time. And as most of you have come into the realization of your missions, you will be guided by Yeshua. In the middle of the nights, you will be guided by your galactic family towards a light so bright that will walk you towards your mission, as your path has already been laid down. And all you have to do is walk down this path of intrinsic unity, of intrinsic wholeness, of intrinsically you through and through, of intrinsically I through and through. And as we all merge and skew our energetic frequency into that of one, our consciousness will melt with no borders. Our reality field will merge with no limitations. And the beauty of it all will smack you so hard on the face, on the chest, that you will not be able to breathe. That you will bow down at my feet through and through, that I will bow down at your feet through and through, that we will buckle at the knees and bow down at the feet of Yeshua, of a God's consciousness that had so gracefully fractaled off into this moment of existence, into this moment of time within our quantum verse. And as we bow down to each other, as we grasp at each other's feet, coming to the realization of the beauty of it all, we will give ourselves through and through. We will merge ourselves through and through into the tranquility of it all, in disbelief, in discontent, in forever content, in forever unity, in forever love, in forever forgiveness, in forever wholeness, in forever wholesomeness. As every knee will buckle, every knee will fall, every knee shall bow down to the feet of Yeshua through and through. As our reality field is greater and grander than you can ever imagine or envision to be true, and as you come to this realization of all of that, all of you and all of I will merge into the brightest light within the quantum verse that you can ever imagine or envision to be true. And that is a moment to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen, as that feeling will melt you onto the ground. As you merge your knees, as you merge your body, as you merge your energetic frequency into Gaia, into the energetic frequency of you, of I, of our surrounding galaxies, hemispheres, and biospheres, of the surrounding galactic civilizations and alien distortion fields that you can ever envision to be true, of the layers and layers of energetic frequency that has always been you, that has always been I. The forgiveness that you will experience in your heart shall be so all-encompassing, it will bring you onto the ground. It will bring you into a moment so deep of cohesiveness, of wholeness that you've never been able to feel within this existence of all existences, within all existences, of the all conglomerated whole of a consciousness that you've ever been, within lifetimes and lifetimes upon lifetimes of fractals of wholeness that you have ever been. This will be the moment, ladies and gentlemen, that you will buckle your knees, you will fall to the ground, and you will bow down to the energy that is you through and through.